Hey folks, I'm Shadeslay. Welcome to the first match of the inaugural London Gamers vs Scottish Gamers Hearthstone tournament. We'll jump into game 1 in just a moment, but first, here's a quick overview of how the tournament works. Each group has entered a team of 4 players, and opponents have been matched at random. Matches will be played using a best of 5 Conquest format. Each player has pre-selected 3 decks, each of a different class. For the first game, each player can use any of their 3 decks. At the end of the first game, the winner must switch to one of their other decks. The loser can either use the same deck or switch to one of their other 2. Once a player wins a game, they can't play again with the same deck. The first player to win a game with all 3 of their decks wins the match. It's time to jump into game 1 of this first best of 5 match. Representing Scottish Gamers is Andrew. He's brought Paladin, Hunter and Druid decks, and he's going to be facing off against Rum, who's playing Paladin, Mage and Chamois. Best of luck to both players, and may the best man win.
Khadgar versus Liadrin.
So here we are into game 1 of this best of 5 matchup. It's Rum for London Gamers versus Andrew for Scottish Gamers. And Rum immediately mulligans his whole hand, looking to get rid of those fireballs and find himself some early plays. Looks like he's going to be playing a Cthulhu Mage, somewhere kind of between full Cthulhu and Tempo probably. A couple of Sorcerer's Apprentices there which will be useful to him in the early game, but I guess ideally he'd have been hoping for some Mana Worms. But let's see what he can do up against Andrew's Paladin. And I'm guessing we're going to be looking at probably an aggro rush Paladin. So we'll see what comes out, but we'll be looking on Andrew's side of the board for perhaps a turn 1 Argent Squire perhaps. Let's wait and see. He's taking his time, trying to work out what to keep in his hand. Okay, and we're underway. So it's going to be Andrew going first. Has he got a turn 1 play? What we'll be looking for are lots of low-cost minions, lots of Divine Shields probably. And I'm guessing, we can't actually see his deck, but I'm guessing a majority of it's going to be in the 1 to 3 mana range. So he's going to have to keep an eye on his card draw as well, make sure he's got enough to sustain him. That's an Arcane Intellect drawn by Rum, and he's going to pass immediately. I'm surprised he didn't play a Sorcerer's Apprentice there, just to get something out on the board, because if we are going to see an aggro play from the Paladin, he's really going to want to start building up a board fairly quickly. If he's playing Cthulhu, he's not going to be able to wait until turn 10. He's going to need to make some early moves. Over to Paladin again now. What's he going to draw? He's got 3 mana. Argent Protector comes out, and of course giving that Sludge a Divine Shield. And he plays the Argent Squire as well, so immediately he's got a decent starting board there, and he's got 2 Divine Shields. What's Rum going to do against this? He can put out the Beckoner of Evil. That's going to give his Cthulhu 2/2. But very, very susceptible to being knocked off, and he's not in a strong position. Really needs to start taking down some of those Divine Shields. And this is where something like perhaps Arcane Missiles would be really useful in the opening hand. Okay, Andrew brings out the Rallying Blade, and that is a real blow for Rum, because it's going to give his Divine Shield minions 1/1, and lets him take out that Beckoner, and look at that board already. That's a scary board, and how is Rum going to tackle it? Arcane Bolt's not going to be a great deal of use here. He can play down the Sorcerer's Apprentice, he'll get the free Arcane Bolt, but it's still only going to take out one of those minions, and he's still got those 2 sticky 2/2s on there. Even if he gets to turn 6, like a Flame Strike's not going to help him that much. That's interesting. I thought he would have gone with his hero power and maybe pinged either one of those Divine Shields off or taken off the 2/1 there. He went for Arcane Intellect, and playing against the Paladin, I'm not sure that's a great idea, because Andrew's going to be almost definitely playing Divine Favour. Oh, and there it is. There it is. And, of course, that's going to give him, what, 6 cards? So, always a risk if you've got a big hand and you're playing up against someone playing an aggro deck like this. And this really, I don't see where Rum comes back from this. We've got, what's that? 7, 8, 9 damage already on the board. We've only got 5 mana. He's got nothing with Taunt in his hand, so we can't slow him down at all. He's just going to ping the 3/3 Abusive Sergeant. And then take 2 damage from the Disciple of Cthulhu. But that still leaves 6 damage on the board. He's only got 16 health left. And this isn't looking entirely great for the Cthulhu Mage here. It's just unfortunate that it's kind of designed to go a lot later, and of course the Paladin, very much relying on the early game, pulls out, in this case, yet another Divine Shield. Another Rallying Blade as well. Oh, that is unfortunate, and that's going to bring all of his minions up. +1/+1 again. And it looks like this is going to be over on, well, certainly turn 6 for Ram, unfortunately. He's just not got anything to deal with those sticky minions. And he just couldn't get an early enough start on the board. I mean, he can ping the 2/1, he can drop out another Beckoner, but really there's nothing here. And that's it, he calls it. He concedes, and it's game 1 to Andrew in this best of 5 series. So, game 1 goes to Andrew from Scottish Gaymers with his aggro Paladin against Rum and the Cthulhu Mage. It was a slow start for Rum. He couldn't establish an early board presence to counter the aggression. Plus, there was definitely some RNG working for Andrew there. Those 2 Rallying Blades really sealing the deal, and they secured him the eventual victory. We're going to launch straight into game 2 now, and under the Conquest rules, Andrew can't play the Paladin deck again. That means he'll be bringing either Hunter or Druid, whilst Rum can stick with Mage or choose either his Chamois or Paladin decks. Once again, best of luck to both players as the next game gets underway.
Khadgar versus Illyria.
So, game 2 is underway, and it looks like Rum's going to be looking for more success with his Mage deck than he had in that first game, hoping for a better opening hand. And already he seems to have it with the 1-drop Mana Worm and a 2-drop Beckoner of Evil to play as well. He's playing up against Andrew on his Hunter. Now the Hunter could go one of 2 ways. We could be looking at mid-range control, in which case we'll expect to see things like the King's Elec, Savannah Highmane, Houndmaster, or he could be going the kind of very aggro Hunter. So we'd be looking at Fiery Bat, Huge Toad, Unleash the Hounds, Knife Juggler, all of those bits and pieces, possibly even a Leroy somewhere later in the game as well. So we'll have to see how this plays out. It's Rum up first, and he drops down that 1-drop Mana Worm. No surprises there. Let's see how Andrew follows up. Could be looking at a Fiery Bat. Depends on what he's got in his hand, though. No, he's going to coin into a 2-drop. What's it going to be? Okay, the Bilefin Tidehunter, so that's immediately going to give him some board presence. But the difference between this game and the last is that Rum's got a way to deal with that. He's actually established a board presence, and he just clears those minions straight off, using his ping to take out the 2/1, and he's kept his Mana Worm alive as well. Andrew's answer to that is the Jeweled Scarab. That'll discover another minion for him, but it's only a 1/1, and again, it falls prey to that Mana Worm. So, Rum getting a lot of good trades out of that simple 1-drop minion that he just didn't have in his opening hand last time. Out comes the first Beckoner of Evil. That's going to give his Cthulhu 2/2, taking it up to an 8/8, and already beginning to build a presence on the board, which Andrew is going to have to come up with some answers to. Animal Companion, perhaps? Let's see what he's got. No, Cold Light Oracle. Each player draws 2 cards. That's a really interesting card to play, because for a mage like Rum, he wants to be cycling through his deck pretty quickly. He's going to be looking for as many answers as he can to just slow the hunter down until he can get that Cthulhu out. So, you know, he plays the Arcane Intellect as well. He's just drawn 4 cards. He's got 8 in hand now, and that's going to give him lots of answers for whatever Andrew can bring out. And all he has to do is keep this going till turn 10. He's already got the Cthulhu in hand, and that could really make a big difference. So, I don't know, possibly a mistake from Andrew there to have played the Oracle. Maybe he had no choice, but although it looks like he had an Animal Companion in hand, so maybe he should have played that instead. He's going to be... Oh, it comes out as a Huffer, so I'm guessing he's going to run it into the face, but he's going to lose it pretty much straight away to whatever Rum's got. I don't think Rum has to even sacrifice that Beckoner if he doesn't want to. No, he'll pull out the Sorcerer's Apprentice, he'll pull out the Arcane Blast, 2 damage, and that gives him, again, a good board presence. Another Beckoner. It's looking pretty good so far. That's 7 damage on the board, and Andrew's going to have to find a way to respond to this. It's turn 5 now, so interesting to see what he's got. Okay, Knife Juggler. So that's a fairly aggressive card, and the Unleash the Hounds as well. So it looks like he was kind of going for the aggro deck, but so far that hasn't worked out particularly well for him. That Knife Juggler doing its money's worth, taking the 3-2 down to 3-1 and the 2-1 as well. So lets him get rid of 2 of those hounds and knock some of that damage off the board. Still leaves Andrew with a 2-2. And out comes a Disciple of Cthulhu that's going to take him off the board as well. A quick ping to the face and another 2 damage from the Beckoner. Andrew on 23, Rum on 26, but definitely having the board advantage at this part of the game. And he's got, you know, some good stuff in his hand as well. Ah, there we go. Out comes the Sylvana Highmane. That's really interesting though, because that you would usually expect to see in more of a control-focused deck. And what great timing there for Rum. He pulls out Twin Emperor, and of course, he's already built his Cthulhu up to a 10-10, so that means he gets a second one on the board, and that really, really slows down Andrew kind of doing any damage to the face, certainly. How is he going to answer that? Let's have a look. Pulls out another Knife Juggler. And the Houndmaster, which is going to give his Savannah Highmane 2-2. That is some trade favourably for one of the Twin Emperors, but still keeps it on the board. Okay, what's Rum picked up? Another Mana 1. That's not bad. He's got a few spells in hand if he wants to buff it, but he's going to go for the Frostbolt. If he hits the Savannah Highmane with that, he's going to summon the 2 Jackals, but of course the damage coming off the Knife Juggler there as well. Again, doing its money's worth. The Knife Juggler quickly taken out. He's got 6 damage to play with. He'll probably knock out the Jackals with that. And of course he keeps that last Twin Emperor on the board. And we're already up to turn 8, so this game moving very, very fast. And it's only 2 turns now until that 12-12 Cthulhu can get played. And Andrew, only on 19 health, is going to need to find some answers to that pretty quick. Okay, so out comes the Desert Camel, and that's into the injured Kvaldir. That's really interesting because, of course, that would usually come out as a 2-1, but because it's drawn from the deck rather than played from the hand, it stays as a 2-4. He also plays the Ram Wrangler, which gives him the Oasis Snapjaw. But at the moment, he's still got no way of slowing down the face damage. And what a top deck draw there from Rum. He pulls out that Flame Strike just when it's needed and clears the whole of Andrew's board. And now things looking very, very difficult for Andrew going into turn 10. That Cthulhu just sat there in Rum's hand waiting to be played. It'll be interesting to see whether Andrew's got anything to tackle this. Ball of Spiders, probably not going to do it. I don't know too many people who play it, and at this part of the game, I'm not quite sure what he's hoping for from it. Pulls out another Bluefin Tidehunter, and that of course gives him the 1-1 Ooze, but let's face it, that's not going to stop Cthulhu. He comes out on turn 10, it's a 12-12. 12 points of damage, takes out all of his minions. knocks him down to 7, and the minions do the rest. That is game over, and it's a win for Rum on his mage. So, game 2 goes to Rum, finally getting the opportunity to show off the full potential of that Cthulhu mage deck against Andrew's Hunter. A much better opening hand certainly helped him out, and he managed to cycle quickly through his deck, pulling out everything he needed to keep control until he could drop Cthulhu on turn 10. That Cold Light Oracle from Andrew certainly helped him out. If he hadn't played it, we might have been waiting another 2 turns for the Twin Emperor and another 2 turns for that Flame Strike. And just possibly, it could have been a completely different game. But it's now 1 apiece going into game 3, and that's the last we'll see of Rum's Mage. Next up, it's Hunter or Druid versus Chamois or Paladin. Let's jump straight in and find out.
Thrall versus Malfurion.
So here we are in game 3, and there's still everything to play for. It's Andrew on what will almost definitely be a Cthulhu Druid, and Rum with what's going to be a Bloodlust Chamois. He mulligans 3 of his cards, looking for a better opening hand, probably hoping to pull out a Tunnel Trog, I would guess, but no sign of it there, so it's going to be a slightly slower start for him than perhaps he was hoping. He's going to be playing up against this Druid, and we can expect to see some pretty big minions coming out. We'll be looking for anything that buffs Cthulhu, so we'll be looking for Disciples, Twilight Elder, a few others as well. That's a turn 1 Living Roots, just to get some minions on the board for Andrew. And there's a Totem Golem, but not quite what he was hoping for perhaps. So he's going to coin into the Knife Juggler. 60% chance of taking out one of those trees. And there we go. Okay, so establishing a bit of a presence, but we'll see what Andrew answers that with. He can't take it out of his hero power, so let's see what he's got in his hand. Oh, it's a Wrath. So 3 damage, takes the Knife Juggler off the board, leaves his 1/1 still there. At least Rum's got a turn 2 with that Totem Golem. It's a nice 3/4, so perhaps a little more difficult for Andrew to get off the board. He's got 3 mana, so it looks like... what could he play? He's not going to have any more direct removal at this level. There's a Disciple of Cthulhu. Oh, he's just going to go face with it, buffing his Cthulhu up to an 8/8, leaving the Totem Golem on the board. Rum immediately summons another totem. He can take out that 2/2, and of course, because it's a healing totem, he will heal that Totem Golem at 1 point, taking it just out of range of danger. Andrew's going to ramp up with an Innovate, and there we are into a turn 4 Dark Arakoa. That's going to buff his Cthulhu up to an 11/11, and that's going to pose a real problem for Rum to get rid of. He doesn't have a Hex in hand at the moment. He's calling out his Feral Spirit. That's at least going to slow down Andrew, but still, that is going to be a tough minion for him to crack through without a Hex in hand. Turn over, and the Healing Totem brings his Totem Golem back up to a 3/4. What are we going to get from Andrew this turn? It's going to be a Nourish, so he's going to go from 2 cards in his hand up to 5. No reason why not at this stage of the game. He's in a fairly comfortable board position where he feels that he doesn't have to play anything. Ah, and there is the Hex that Rum desperately needed to burn through that Dark Arakoa, and there we go, doing a little bit of damage to the face, leaving that 1 tree on the board. But established a reasonable board presence now. He's got 2 totems up on the board, so you know, could be in a worse position. Let's see what Andrew's going to play. It's turn 6, so it could be another Dark Arakoa. He does have 2 in his deck, almost definitely. Oh, and it is! It is, and that is going to be a real blow for Rum. It takes the Cthulhu up to 14/14, and he's just burnt through one of his hexes. What's he got that's going to be able to remove this from the board? Well, nothing particularly in his hand at the moment. He's looking at pulling out the Tuscar Totemic. That's going to summon another random totem for him, and it's a Manatide. So at least give him some card draw, and hopefully he'll draw into perhaps that second hex. Maybe, well, if he's running one, I don't actually know if he is, but let's hope that he is. A rock biter weapon might be useful at this stage. We'll have to see. At least he's establishing a pretty strong board presence, which he can then use and build with that Thunderbluff Valiant on turn 7. He's got a board set up for a swipe though from Andrew if he's got one in hand, so something he needs to be quite careful of. It's not going to be the be all and end all, but it's certainly going to make quite a difference. It'll knock some of those 2 health minions down to 1. He's got obviously that tree still on the board. I guess a swipe target's going to be that Spirit Wolf. No, he's choosing to run the Arakoa into it. Still a potential board for a swipe onto the Totem Golem. No, he plays it onto the Manatide Totem, fair enough. And that's going to significantly reduce Rum's board down. And there goes the hero power, just knocking that healing totem off the board as well, leaving Rum with just the 3/3 Totem Golem and the 1-cost Argent Squire. He's got a 5/5 Dark Arakoa to run into. And yeah, this is looking a little bit challenging, but it's certainly far from over. Out comes the Thunderbluff Valiant, and wow, what's that? What was that? The pressure perhaps getting to Rum there. He hadn't summoned a totem that turn. He almost definitely should have pulled out a totem. That would have given his Totem Golem 5/3. He could have run that straight into the Dark Arakoa. That would have left him with a 2/2 totem on the board, and he'd still have that Rock Biter weapon in hand. Wow, I hope that doesn't come back to bite him later. But yeah, I can't see any reason why he'd have used the Rock Biter weapon instead of summoning the totem there. That could be a mistake, and I hope it doesn't cost him dearly. Oh, and it really might do. So out comes Thorsan, and if he still had a 2/2 on the board, he could have played the Rockbiter weapon on it and run it into the Emperor. He hasn't. I mean, Andrew might have used the Living Roots to take out the 2/2, but he'd still have the weapon. He could have put it on the Thunderbluff and run that into Thorsan instead. In any case, he'd have something to answer this. As it happens, he's just got nothing. Out comes the Flame Juggler. That's hopefully... No, it doesn't even take out the 1/1. And now, looking like he's in a bit of a difficult situation. He's got another Thunderbluff Valiant there, but he hasn't got enough mana this turn to play a totem, and he's got no totems on the board. So, yeah, a little bit concerning, a little bit worrying now for Rum at this stage in the game. And I can't help but think that one tiny mistake might have cost him dearly. Andrew playing out a Twilight Elder because, you know, that Cthulhu needs to be buffed even more. Already up to a ridiculous amount. I think it's on, was it 11/11 already? And of course with that Thorsan reducing the cost of his cards, out comes the Klaxi Amber Weaver. Another 3 on his Cthulhu, another 2/2. That takes it up to a whopping 16/16, and look at all that damage that Andrew is putting on the board. 17/17 at the end of the turn. Out comes another Rockbiter weapon, but it's a little bit too late. I can't see what Rum's going to do to come back from this. He's going to summon the totem, of course. That will benefit from the Thunderbluff Inspire. But still, you know, there is, 8, 12, 16 points of damage on the board, and he really doesn't have an answer that's going to clear a substantial amount of that down. And he's still got Cthulhu to come, potentially next turn. That Thorsan's still on the board. He can at least get rid of that with the Flame Juggler. Rockbiter weapon onto the Thunderbluff and then into the Twilight Elder. That makes sense. Keeps the Thunderbluff Valiant on the board, and yeah, there goes Emperor Thorsan now, but already having done quite a lot of damage. He draws into a Primal Fusion, and not exactly what he's looking for. At this stage though, I'm not sure what he is looking for. It's a difficult game now for him to come back into. And of course we're on turn 10 now for Andrew, so we could be expecting Cthulhu at any time. He pulls out the Azure Drake, that's going to give him an extra spell power. I don't think that's really going to be a big concern for Rum at this stage though. That's Cthulhu's chosen, giving Cthulhu another 2-2, taking it up to a 19-19, and now he's got 2 sticky minions on the board as well. He completely takes out what's left of Andrew's board, just leaving that 3-3 Thunderbluff Valiant there. He draws into the thing from below, but really that would have been an ideal card for him on turn 4. You know, it's not going to offer him much protection. Andrew can run into that with his hero power and then knock into it potentially with one of the 4-2s or with a 4-8. He's not going to lose anything, so it's a good trade for him. And really, Rum now struggling to even maintain a board presence. Such a shame. I don't know that the mistake earlier would have made a huge difference. There's still some huge minions coming out from Andrew's side that I think he may have struggled to deal with, but that Emperor Thaurissan staying on there for 2 turns longer than it needed to certainly didn't help. Primal Fusion onto the Thunderbluff Valiant just gives it the 4-4 needed to take out that Azure Drake, but still that 5-5 is going to disappear straight away. Oh, and a Beckoner of Evil as well. Another 2-2 on that Cthulhu, bringing it up to 21-21. I mean, that's almost enough to tear straight through all of Rum's hero health just the second it's played. This is not looking good. I'm not even sure, you know, what he can draw at this stage that's gonna really make a difference this game. You know, I assume he's running a Lightning Storm, but you know, with those sticky minions on the board, that's not going to make a difference. He's probably got another Hex in there, but again, you know, at this stage of the game, it's a little bit too little, too late. Tunnel Trog, Totem Golem, and he'll probably tap his hero power out as well, bringing out another totem. But really, there's what's that? 8, 12, 14 points of damage on the board. 15 if you include the Druid hero power, which is enough to completely destroy him. But he brings out the Cthulhu anyway. 21 points of damage. That's going to take all of his minions off the board, and just lets him run 2 of his minions into the face. It's game over for Rum there. That takes the score up to 2-1 to Andrew in this best of 5 match. Andrew takes game 3 for Scottish Gaymers, making the score 2-1 in his favour and putting him just 1 game away from winning the match. It was a slow start for Rum. He didn't find the opening hand he needed to establish that early dominance. Ideally, he'd have been looking for a turn 1 Tunnel Trog into a turn 2 Totem Golem before coining into the Spirit Wolves on turn 3. A fairly big misplay in the mid-game certainly did him no favours, but it's easy to forget, of course, that Totem Golem benefits from the Thunderbluff Valiant's Inspire buff. In any case, it likely wouldn't have affected the final outcome, not with that gargantuan 21-21 Cthulhu on its way. Going into game 4 now, we're going to see a return of Andrew's Hunter deck, whilst Rum can either hope for more luck with his Chamois or bring his Paladin. Let's see which it is as we hop into the game. We jump into game number 4 at turn 2. Andrew already has the 2-1 Barlfin Hunter and the 1-1 Ooze out on the board, just playing a Flame Juggler, and looks like he's running his minions into the face for 4 points of damage. Rum possibly got off to a slow start again. He's got a turn 2, 3-4 Totem Golem on the board. Looks like he didn't have a turn 1. He's going to run that 3-4 into the 1-1, and with the Summoned Healing Totem, he'll just bring that back up to full health. Now we know that Andrew's running a lot of low cost minions in this deck, a lot of low health minions, so Rum's Lightning Storm is going to potentially come in very, very useful if Andrew overextends. Out comes the 2-1 Jeweled Scarab. That's going to discover a 3-cost card for him. Of course he won't be able to play it this turn, depends on whether he's got a 1-drop in hand. Maybe not, we'll have to wait and see. Oh, looks like he does. Okay, it's going to be the Injured Valdir that's going to come out as a 2-1, and he's just going to do 2 more points of damage to Rum's face, but that set him up perfectly for that Lightning Storm, and 3 points of damage to the face, leaving that Totem Golem there on the board, uninjured. He's got a few options for next turn. He's got that 3-4 Totem Golem, he's got 3 points of mana next turn. He could play a Rockbiter weapon. Okay, so it's going to be another Totem Golem and then Rockbiter into the Wolf. That seems like the most logical option, and that's what he's going to do. That'll take out the wolf and leave 2 1/1 spiders on the board for Andrew. And Rum just going to run into face with that totem golem. Gives him a fairly strong board position for this stage of the game. Andrew now playing into turn 5. What's he going to bring out? Rum's got a fantastic turn next turn. He's got an overlocked mana crystal, so he's only going to have 5 mana. But if he plays out the Tuskar Totemic, that's going to summon the totem that brings the cost of the thing from below down to 2. So he can play 3 minions on the board this turn, and that's going to give him a really, really good board advantage. What's he doing? Ouch! So that thing from below comes out, and so does the Flame Tongue Totem, but I don't like that play at all. He's not getting any value out of having that Flame Tongue Totem on the board that turn. Crikey, I'm not sure about that play. He could have had the Tuskar Totemic. He should have put it on the left-hand side of the board. That would have let him summon the thing from below as well. Andrew now playing the Savannah Highmane, and this could have been a big mistake for Rum. He plays out the Manatide Totem, now he plays the Tuskar Totemic, but that should have been on the board already, on the left-hand side. He could have then run the 5-1 into the Savannah Highmane, and he'd have something to deal with those 2-2 hyenas. As it stands, he's got the 2-2 hyenas still on the board, and that's not a fantastic situation. He'd also have another totem up there as well. I hope that doesn't impact the game, but it's a bit of a mistake. Andrew playing 2 Knife Jugglers, he's going to get a bit of value out of those, and a Mind Control Tech, and oh my gosh! A Mind Control Tech just steals that 5-4 thing from below, and of course taking advantage of those Knife Jugglers, Rum now down to 15 health, and this game has suddenly swung a huge swing in Andrew's favour just from that turn, and I can't help but think that would have been a very different turn if Rum hadn't made that very simple misplay. What's he going to do now? So he's running into the thing from below with his overcharged weapon. He plays out the thing from below, that's a 5-5, and summons another totem. But really, that board now not looking great. And actually, if we take a look at this, there is... In fact, Andrew has lethal. He can take out the 5-5 with the Mind Control Tech and the Hyena. He can run the 2-2-2 Knife Jugglers into face, and there we go. Rum calls it. It is game and match to Andrew. So, Andrew wins his 3rd game, and with it the match, putting Scottish Gaymers on the scoreboard. I've gone back over the replays a couple of times, and I'm certain that game would have been played out very differently if Rum had rethought that turn 6. Now, it's true that we can't see what Andrew has in his hand, but even if we allow for that very lucky Mind Control Tech grab, I think Rum could still have cleared Andrew's board on turn 8, and he'd then have been in a very dominant position. He'd have had both card and board advantage, and he'd have had that Doomhammer in play as well. Of course, it's easy to see these things in hindsight. I've got no doubt that both players were feeling under an enormous amount of pressure. Now with one match down and Scottish Gaymers in the lead, the Londoners are going to be looking to strike back. Up next it's Python versus Kdes, and we'll try to get the video for that match up in the next couple of days. Before I sign off, a huge thank you to both players for these exciting games, as well as the organisers at London and Scottish Gaymers who have put the event together. If you want to find out more and get involved, you can check out londongamers.co.uk. I'll pop a link in the video description. Finally, time for a shameless plug. Please do follow me on Twitter, @Shadeslay Plays, and you're very welcome to look in on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/ShadeslayPlays, where I occasionally talk about mobile gaming. That's it for now. I hope you'll join me again for the next match. Until then, I've been Shadeslay. Bye for now.